When are we going to realize that idolizing proximity to whiteness, idolizing being desired by a white man, idolizing not being like other Black girls, when are we going to realize that you're always going to have egg on your face every single time? When are we going to realize that? Let's jump into this Danish deception, child. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lex, and I would greatly appreciate if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. Also, please hype the videos if you have hypes left for the week. Today, we are going to be getting into the Danish deception. I know I'm late. I know y'all been talking about this all over. I got bamboozled into watching this, and child, I have a lot to say, okay? This is not going to be a part-by-part recap because this is 25 parts, so you can search up the Danish deception, and there is so much on it. She posted the entire thing both on YouTube and on TikTok on Nyeka, who doesn't even say her own name correctly in her videos. Anyway, so we're just going to get into my thoughts. I'm going to touch on certain things that I saw throughout the story. I'm going to touch on my overall feelings again about idolizing whiteness and how the fact that she idolized whiteness in this way, and not just her, but her family. I'm sorry, her whole family. They all idolized whiteness in this way. And that was the reason why this situation was able to happen. So I really want to jump into this. Let's go, girl. Before we even dive into my commentary, I do want to touch on the fact that Onyeka has been posting TikToks as recently as a day or two ago saying that this man, Martin, I'm gonna say his name, Martin, he is still out here scamming. He is in Tulum. He is scamming other women. There's been ladies on TikTok that have come out. So despite her telling this story and him doing this to people prior to her, he is also still out there doing this again.
I cannot believe I'm making this video so soon after finishing my series, but I just received word from a woman that was conned by my ex in Tulum just last week. I'm sure some of you have seen the TikTok circulating from individuals that have seen him in Tulum. If you haven't, I'm just gonna play a short clip for you guys to see.
So guys, Danish deception guy is hiding out in Tulum, where I live, and he is scamming multiple people from the Run Club, different women. Like in the last month, it is very apparent that he has no intention of stopping this, but he's here.
There was another TikTok that was circulating that included actual photos of my ex, and the woman that reached out to me is actually the woman that's in this photo. She told me he's telling people that he founded a tech company that he sold to Facebook, and he moved to Tulum to retire, and he moved there from Dallas after ending an engagement with a woman that comes from Nigerian royalty. You cannot make this up. Out of respect to her, I'm not going to talk about how he conned her or how much he took from her, but what I will say is that there was another woman that reached out to her that said that he physically stole money from her, and when she confronted him, he got very, very aggressive, and she was actually fearful of him. The whole purpose of me making this video is to bring awareness. This girl was not conned last year. She was conned last week, which means it happened after my series was put out, which means that he truly believes he's invincible, and hearing that he's acting very aggressive really does cause me some concern. So try to share this, and let's put this out to as many people as we can, and I hope you guys stay safe.
So I will insert a little summary TikTok here so that way you guys can be familiar with the story. But again, if you want the dirty deeds, go on ahead.
Anam Onyeka says she, her family, her friends, and even a coworker were scammed out of nearly $300,000, all by one man she thought was her soulmate, Martin Firstgard Anderson. She calls it the Danish deception. It started in 2022 when she met Martin at a beach club in Croatia. Tall, blonde, charming, claiming royal ties, wealth, and a booming tech empire. He flew her to Monaco, paid for flights, $2,000 a night hotels, showered her with promises, met her family, and built the perfect fantasy. And then the money problems began. He said his funds were frozen. The IRS blocked his accounts. His properties were stuck in escrow. She lent him $6,000, then more and more. Later, she learned he had borrowed $200,000 from her friend's husband, thousands from her sister, and had been lying to everyone in her orbit. The truth? He had a long-term gambling addiction, years of debt, and a trail of victims. After draining her and destroying her trust, he asked for a divorce and vanished. Now she's telling her story, so no one else falls for him again.
This story starts off with Onyeka. She is our protagonist. She was also on The Bachelor. Some interesting facts about Onyeka that we soon find out is that Onyeka does not have any black friends. There has been a lot of pictures that have come out, and you either are going to know what I'm saying or you're not going to know what I'm saying. I grew up in Massachusetts, and I feel like women like Onyeka have a very specific archetype when it comes to their relation to blackness and to whiteness. And there's something about when Onyeka started this story about this man that in like about 30 seconds, I said, oh, I know exactly what kind of black woman Onyeka is. I know exactly who Onyeka wants to be accepted by. I know exactly what she values. Because Onyeka had some very telltale signs that she not like other black girls. She not like them. She's above this. And I found that to be extremely concerning. Her demeanor throughout telling this entire story was so giddy, so happy. You could tell that she still wears it as a badge of honor, that this white Swedish scammer who looks like he's 45 years old. Did we ever get his age in the video? But this man that looks like he's 45 years old, she still wears it like a badge of honor that this man wanted her. And we have to remember, Onyeka was not the one that divorced this man. He divorced her. He said he was done. Had he not been the one to be like, you know what, this is taking entirely too much work to scam. I'm gonna go find another sucker who I don't have to do this much work with. Onyeka would have still wanted to be with this man. As of the time of her posting this, she had gotten divorced like November 12th or something like that of 2025. She still wanted this man, and the way that her face is so giddy, her smile is so big, she seems so excited to tell us, look, this white man, he was into me. The way she described this man, because she lets us know that she went to Germany with her friend, or her friend from Germany, and she went to Croatia, and that's when she met this man.
And the first thing that came to my mind was, this man looks like he is walking straight out of a Calvin Klein ad. And I'm telling you guys, 6'3", blonde hair, blue eyes, chiseled skin, so tan, muscles everywhere.
And immediately, the way she's discussing this man, 6'3", chiseled, looked like he walked straight out of a Calvin Klein ad. Baby, I'm gonna put some videos in because, girl, look, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Off to the village. You didn't get me, girl.
Girl, listen, I just need somebody to check what star sign the Danish deception lady is. Just so we know, and then we can keep like a very good close eye on our homegirls who are the same sign. But one thing I know for sure is that she's not an earth sign. Because Capricorns, Virgos, Tauruses, no.
But again, you would have thought Channing Tatum or one of those, I don't know, walked out of this. The fact that she was so enamored by this man, the way she describes him, the way she says he was the man of her dreams, he looked like a god, he was this, he was that. It is bizarre. It's bizarre. And Onyeka had let us know that prior to actually meeting this man, she was very picky with dating. She did not date anybody because her parents were a great example and she wanted to find somebody that matched up to their relationship. So I find it very interesting that after 2 dates of meeting this guy in Croatia, and then she goes back to the States, he is literally begging her to come back, go on this work trip with him to Ibiza. And she's like, nah, I had to work a lot. I didn't want him to think I was using him for his money. I needed to work a lot. I just got a Chanel bag. And keep that in mind, this theme that she didn't want him to feel like she was using him for his money. Keep that in mind. But eventually he coerces her to go to Monaco. And that is the only trip in this entire thing that he pays for. But this is after 2 times of meeting. And she's willing to be flown out and go to this man's work trip. And she had no questions in her mind. There was nothing to her that stood out as, that's a little bit weird. Why is this guy so obsessed with me? She even says after she said no to going to Ibiza, he kept texting her. He got more persistent. And instead of that being creepy to her, she was turned on by it. She was enamored by it. But you were picky with dating before. Supposedly, her friend, Natalie Negrati, if you are a Big Brother watcher, you know Natalie. Natalie Negrati, one of the 25 best friends of the story, she came out and said that Onyeka only dates black men. She had never been with a white man before. Her type is typically black men, that she's not typically interested in white men. It's not something that she idolizes or goes for. And I was like, Natalie, girl, you might want to stop talking because you're making your friend look bad. Because if that's actually true, that's even wilder, that you're super picky. None of the black guys you dated fit your criteria, but a white man that you met 2 times on a vacation was your dream Prince Charming, was your dream man, was the man that was everything you wanted. I can't even talk because the stuff she was saying was so delusional. I'm sorry. It is insanity. It is insanity, the thirst that some people have to be accepted by the white community. It is sad to me because this man showed you nothing. He showed nothing. What did he bring to the table to be the man of your dreams? She even mentions in the early story that the second time they went to dinner in Croatia when they originally met, her friend did not want to go, but she begged her friend to go because he was hot. So again, she sets it up in the beginning that the only reason why she kept talking to this guy is because he was hot, And then because he was her dream man, the dream man that does not acknowledge her, clearly down in Texas, she ain't finding the white guy of her dreams. Now that he's acknowledging her, oh, that's the man of my dreams. He didn't bring anything to the table. But yet you're picky. And supposedly the only white men the only black men that you date, right, according to your friend, none of them were ever enough to make it to a relationship. Come on. As I said, we have got to do better than this. And again, we have a lot of information now on lovely Onyeka and how she feels and who she sort of looks up to. It's come out that she follows JD Vance. She follows Dump, y'all president. Y'all president, not mine. Somebody's president. He follows him. She follows him. She follows Candace Owens. It's very clear. And I actually saw a very good TikTok I'll try to find it and put it here. But it seems like she wants to be the next Candace Owens almost. That's what it's giving with her because it just doesn't make sense. She wants to have this romantic love story. You don't talk to anyone from your community. I found it very interesting that one detail she chose to leave in the story is that she is the head of, there's a cultural, like a Nigerian, chapter of this organization for her tribe in Texas, and they do cultural events and things like that. And she left in that she is the head of that. And it's just giving, see, I love my culture. I love my culture. I love my culture. I don't know. I just feel like if you genuinely love your culture, you love blackness, you love your culture, you love who you are, you don't have to tell people that. You don't have to keep inserting these little details. Why does your friend have to come out and say that you date black people? Because it's clear. It's clear what kind of person you are. And on this vacation that she did end up going to, she was already telling this man that she loved him. 3 times in. Again, you're so picky. No man has ever hit your criteria, aka no black man has hit your criteria, because black men are on a different scale, clearly, than this dusty Danish guy that you met out of nowhere, right? But in 3 meetings, you're telling this guy you love him. He doesn't say it back, then. He doesn't say it back then. He says he wants to have his own special moment. And then this man is telling her a bunch of things. He says he has a $400,000 tech job. He says he was in the Olympics twice and he has 2 medals. He says that he and his older sister have a terrible relationship. This man says he is Danish royalty, proceeds to send her some fabricated screenshot. He says he has a real estate investing business. This man is telling her a bunch of facts, none of which she is verifying. Again, you meet a random guy on vacation. He is cute, right? He's cute. He's cute and white. He's white. Let's not even say he cute, baby. He's white. You meet him on vacation. You fall in love with him. You're enamored by him. This is clearly your dream guy, your Prince Charming, your little story. He tells you all these facts, and not once does she vet any of them. 0. The Olympics thing. It is so easy to look up every single person that has been in the Olympics and whether they won a medal or not. No vetting. She takes everything blindly from this man. And I think we need to have a little bit of a conversation about people of, let's say, African, Caribbean descent, just a lot of us black children of immigrants. I feel like a lot of people have this experience where having a boyfriend, dating, going out with someone, that is very, very frowned upon, especially when you're in high school or even when you're in college, when you're working on your studies. You know, the focus is to work on your studies, work on your studies. A boyfriend? What is a boyfriend? I don't know. That word does not compute. Boyfriend? Nah. You're not gonna have no little boyfriend. So when you grow up hearing those things, I do also feel that it puts you in a very weird spot where when you're dating, you automatically assume if I'm in a legitimate relationship, it's because I'm in a relationship to marry. Whereas this woman said she never had a true relationship before. And I'm not saying, yes, we all know that one person who married their high school sweetheart or married their college sweetheart. That was their first and only relationship, and it's worked out wonderfully. But I do think for the vast majority of us, there's a reason why dating and just experimenting with being in relationships and in romantic relationships is important and is helpful. Because you are able to spot some of these red flags, some of these signs, because you have ideas in your head of how to approach a relationship. She definitely was sitting here under the impression that I'm in a relationship with this guy. This is the guy I'm finally looking for. I must marry him. And I must marry him quickly. And that is super harmful. Especially when you've had no dating experience up until here. And from what I understand in this part of the story, she's around, what, 28, 29? Because I think she said she's 30 now, or 31. So she's somewhere between 29, 30, or 28, 29, and you've never been in anything. And I do think that that is often encouraged in a lot of, again, immigrant black communities that no. You know, you need to find this perfect man and he's going to be the man you marry. And that's on period. And I think it is very harmful and very scary because I do think you have people like Onyeka who are then like, oh my God, I think I found him. So since I found him, I got to marry him. Because I'm sorry, but why would you even think that you need to marry this man at this period of time? Why would you even think that he was an eligible candidate for marriage? And not only that, you are sponsoring this man, helping him to get a green card, a full scammer. Child. And as things are heating up, maybe 3, 4, 5 dates in, they had only seen each other in person, I believe, twice. She's already telling this man, I'm going to move to Denmark. I'm going to move to Denmark. I know you have an established tech job. You have your company. You have your family. You have all these different things. I'm willing to up and move my whole life over to you. What? What? You are willing to take yourself and go? That is how in deep this man had you? As I said, again, we've got to look at our self-esteem. And let's be real. It is not lost on me that Onyeka is deeply insecure. She is deeply, deeply insecure. And that is why a man like this was even able to swoop in.
It does not help that by the time I got to part 24, I saw that she was following Candace Owens on Instagram. So I was like, oh, okay. What I thought was happening is not what's happening. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I like to assume that, all things held together, people will act in or think in their best interests. And I do still stand by the idea that, like, patriarchy convinces women to abandon their common sense in pursuit of a man, because like having a man, being with a man, is the ultimate realization of a woman's humanity, basically. But this is something else entirely. This is a level of stupid that I fear I could not have accessed, because then I really started thinking about it, and I'm like, so within like a few months of meeting and knowing him, he told you a couple of things that would have easily been verifiable as to whether they were true or not. First, that he was a royal. He held a royal title in Denmark. I found out that one of my classmates, like they had a family member on a Supreme Court in a European country. I went and looked that shit up immediately, and I found that lady very quickly. Like, public figures, public roles like that, there's information about that on the internet. Second, he said that he went to the Olympics twice and represented Denmark. Once again, there's information about that on the internet. So even taking that at face value, right? She went to visit his house, and he lived in a normal Danish house. Like, his family home was normal. They were not in a castle or anything.
And besides, obviously, her idolization of whiteness, I imagine a lot of that stems from being a Black woman and not feeling beautiful, not feeling valid. Whatever life she grew up in made her believe that whiteness is the standard, is the beauty. And look, as someone who grew up in Massachusetts, I get that. Baby, until I moved to the DC area, I'm not saying I necessarily believe that, but I grew up around a lot of people, including Black folks, that very clearly thought that whiteness was the standard, was the beauty standard. If you're Black, oh baby, don't even talk to me. Don't touch me. Don't look at me. You got Black features? Oh no, don't even bother. Only when moving to DC and seeing so many kinds of Black people being loved, being admired, being appreciated, then I was really able to see that no, the world isn't like this. This isn't how everyone is. So I don't want to discredit the fact that I do think there was definitely a disservice done at some point in Onyeka's life with somebody, whether it was friends, whether she was in school, whether she was bullied, whether she was told that she didn't look good enough, whether it was her family idolizing white people. She does say at some point, or someone somewhere said, that her sister also has a white boyfriend. So very clearly, this family has been led to believe that that is what you should aim for, that your people are not good enough. And to me, that is worrisome. That is concerning. And that is sad. And then that whole train starts her trying to go to Denmark all the time. This man will fly out to Dallas. He'll fly out to Dallas multiple times. But every time she wanted to go over to Denmark, there was an excuse. He would have to cancel. This person's in the hospital. This person got in a fight. This person had this going on. And then that started the quote unquote bad news phone calls. Now, this man was calling her up every single day, talking about something. I had the worst day of my life. Oh my goodness, I had the worst day, baby. Oh, this day was so bad. And every single time he would call, there was something wrong with this apartment building that he was an investor in or that he had bought. Every single time. The very first time he calls, he's calling talking about, oh, the apartment has problems inside of it. The water's messed up or whatever. And I need to ask my dad for a $50,000 loan. So he tries to say that he's going to do it. He's going to ask his dad, why does Onyeka step in immediately? No, I'll help. You don't have to ask your dad. I'll help. Again, baby, if a black man came to you and said, oh, my apartment building that I'm renting out, well, first off, he wouldn't have made it to this point. Let's keep it a stack. He wouldn't have made it to this point. But again, what is it in your mind that possessed you to think, yeah, this man that should be courting me, this man that should be showing me that he is a viable relationship candidate, because that's something that she claimed that she needed, right? Again, let's remember, Onyeka told us she's picky. None of the men have ever met her criteria. So you have made it known that you want a man that shows you this list of criteria to prove that he's worthy. Why then are you giving him money? He should be proving to you that he's worthy, right? Because that's what you wanted. And at that, you're not giving this man $100, $200. And the first time she gives him $6,000. $6,000. And you don't ask a question. You don't vet it. You've never in your life seen this apartment building. You've never had any verification of anything. And he's telling you lukewarm stories because the whole time that she's telling the story, she's like, and it did sound kind of weird to me, but I don't know. I just fully trusted him. And I never caught him in a lie yet, so I just fully trusted him. Why did you trust him? Because in your head, you have it built up that a white man is the top tier standard, that he's honest, genuine, gentle. That's the reason why, because you built up a fantasy of this man. Because nothing this man did demonstrated that he was trustworthy. I'm so sorry, but if I got with a man and he's calling me up telling me, oh my God, I'm out of so much money, I need 50, baby, I would be out the door. Okay, maybe I wouldn't be out the door, but at the minimal least, I would not be offering my money. Not to someone I just met. Absolutely not. What are we doing? But eventually they have more vacations. And at some point, he actually even encourages her and convinces her to quit her job to pursue real estate full time. What? Again, how did a man, we're talking about somebody who she hasn't even been with yet for 6 months. And you've already given him $6,000. He's traveled to see you. You have offered to move to Denmark with him. You have told this man you love him. And we're not even talking about 6 months. But eventually she does end up quitting her job. And at that point, she's like, things got really rough. I was really strapped. I was doing some Instagram campaigns. I was doing this, but it was definitely a tough road. I did not have as much money as I used to have. I will say in this part of the story, I did not understand what his end goal was with her quitting her job fully. I don't get that, especially if you're scamming for money. Why would you want to get her out of the job that is her 9 to 5? I just didn't really understand that. But then comes along this IRS story. So basically one day he calls her, oh baby, I got worse news than I could ever say, than I could ever imagine. And he essentially calls her and says that he owes the Danish IRS $300,000 and his dad owes $12 million. 12 mil.
What the hell? Oh my God, no way.
What does Onyeka say to justify this? Oh, well, I know the family is royalty. They have a trust. And obviously, if they have this many taxes to pay, that must mean they have a lot of money. Because only people that have a ton of money have that much taxes to pay. You can't make this up. And you know what? Because I know there might be people that are like, you're being so harsh on her. You know, and Yanka came out too trying to say, oh, the only people being harsh on her is black women, which is just factually untrue. But anyway.
People are making this into a race thing, which does not make any sense to me because a lot of black men and black women scam all the time. I just watched a documentary on Netflix where a woman got scammed out of $2 million. And guess what? Her husband was black. And this might not be your intention, but when you're blaming race, you're actually minimizing the fraud and the actual damage that was caused by the scam. So we're on the topic of race. I'm not gonna lie, guys, the most hateful messages I've been seeing are coming from black women. And that's actually really surprising to me because I thought we were here to protect each other and lift each other's voices. So what's going on? I'm not gonna fight hate with hate, so I'm just gonna end this video saying let's all do better, let's practice empathy, let's practice love, and if you're a victim out there, just know that your voice deserves to be heard.
At the end of the day, this is not smart. And if Onyeka was my friend, my sister, my anyone, I would be saying the exact same stuff that I am saying here right to her face, because this is not smart. I just can't, because a man was hot. At your big age, girl, you are nearly 30 years old. At 30 years old, a man being hot was enough for you to not question any of this? And mind you, this man was calling her every day with a different financial issue. Oh, I'm out of this amount of money. Oh, I had this, but it didn't work out. Oh my goodness, my bank account was frozen. My assets were frozen. My business account was frozen. Every day he had another monetary issue. And yet she is still cheesing from ear to ear. Oh, this guy is just fantastic. She even continuously says in the story, I was still more in love with him. I was still more in love with him. Even though we had the financial problems, something still made me be so in love with him. These two proceed to get married. Married. So he could start the green card process. And who ends up paying this IRS bill? Take a guess. So basically, the way that he convinced her to pay this IRS bill was by telling her that if he didn't pay this, he wouldn't be able to get his green card. And so then Onyeka is making this man $3,000 payments consistently. She even mentions that he would always remind her to make the payments. Hey, it's Friday. Where's the 3K? That is crazy. That is frightening. That is frightening. That you were paying this man on a consistent basis. You were paying this man. You were this man's full-time job. He didn't have a job. You were his full-time job. And mind you, while all of this stuff was still happening, they were traveling. That's a big thing that we hear throughout this story. They would still take trips. They would still go on other trips. Onyeka did do a TikTok where she explained why they were still traveling. She didn't really say much. All she said is that basically they had a business venture. She was doing a travel blog and she had reached out to Crypto and Crypto's wife, who I didn't really mention yet. I'll talk about them in a second. But the people that he owed that they were paying back, she reached out to them. They were cool with it. But basically all of the traveling was for her travel blog. It was a new venture she was doing. And she had been to 27 countries. But I just find it insane that we're talking about a man that owes hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars at this point in money to people. You, on your dime.
That motherfucker took $30,000 from me. Keep in mind, he still owes me $6,000 at this point. He said, can you send me $5,000? After some time, he talks me into loaning him the $15,000. I end up loaning him an additional $3K, not even a week after I had already given him $15K. I remember I gave him like a small amount, maybe like $3,000. We ended up going to Portugal for a week. We used my credit cards the majority of this trip. Your ex owes my husband $200,000. And I saw that there was a cash advance for $7,000. My little sister looks at me and she says, he took $3K from me. I find another friend that he owed $10,000 to. My coworkers that I used to work with, husband gave him $10,000 to. And what was in his account? 34 cents.
And yet it's like, yeah, let's go on a trip. And she, again, she's from ear to ear in the video. Yeah, and I put the trips on my credit card because he would ask me to put the trips on my credit card. And, I just did it because I was so in love with him. So they're on vacation, things are going back and forth, and the best friend, one of his best friends that was hanging out with them when they were on vacation, was basically like, do you know he has a gambling addiction? And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, he told me he told you. She gets pissed in the story, she says, and asks him, screams at his face if he has a gambling addiction. He claims it was 10 years ago, swears to her that he would never gamble away her money. Could never do something like that. Again, very manipulative. And by the way, I'm not trying to discredit the fact that this man, Martin, is manipulative. He's a scumbag. He's disgusting. Like, truly, he is an awful guy. And yes, I feel bad about his addiction. I think the addiction is something that he can't really handle and control without the proper help. But nonetheless, he's still extremely manipulative. He's a liar. He took advantage of her and multiple other women. So I don't want to discredit that. But again, I just can't conceptualize how she was not asking any questions. And in the story, she says she's not telling anyone about this. She didn't tell her family about the IRS payments. She didn't tell her family about crypto and crypto's wives, because we find out that his mentor, that she calls Crypto, is somebody that he was able to pull one over on after 20 meetings. And he scammed him out of $200,000. $200,000 that he needed to pay back. And you want to know what Crypto said to Onyeka? I didn't say anything to you about this. I did not say anything about him owing this money. I did not say anything about the fact that he had done this to me because you're Nigerian and I thought you were in on it. Imagine you are so happy to tout your white man around, and yet his other, I presume, white friends, white mentors are saying that they didn't want to say anything because they thought you were a scammer. Everybody thought you were in it. Your reputation is tarnished because people assumed this about you. And the way Onyeka would talk about other Nigerians was crazy. They talk about going on a trip to her village, and she's like, yeah, I wouldn't bring those watches because you're probably going to get robbed. She would always refer to Nigerians as scammers. She was the one in the story making just, I'm Nigerian. Oh my God, I'm Nigerian. How could he scam me? I'm Nigerian. Oh my goodness, how in the world did a white guy scam me, a Nigerian? It's just so bizarre. The weird internalized stereotypes that she had towards her own people. It was concerning. But at this point, even though he admits, yeah, I have a gambling addiction, I don't do that anymore, she just believes him blindly. He says, no, I don't do it anymore. She's like, okay, cool, we're married, yada, yada, yada. They find out about Crypto and Crypto's wife, and then they make a payment plan with Crypto and his wife. And again, she is feeling so guilty. And part of me was wondering why she felt that she needed to insert herself into paying this money. Because at the end of the day, that's not your money. That's not your debt. That's debt that he accumulated prior to y'all being married. It's not shared debt, girl. But again, and in the story, again, she is talking about how her savings are dwindling. She barely has any money. She barely has anything left in her account at this point. But it doesn't matter. She still wanted to marry him. She still wanted to have the big ceremony. She was still so in love. Even though, the money is gone, it didn't matter because she loved him more. This lady literally had nearly no money in her account because she gave it all to him. And then to top it off, she would still catch him with the app on his phone. Still caught him. Still caught him using it. Still caught him gambling. It's like, and again, it's an addiction. It's an addiction. But again, the minute you heard this man had a severe gambling addiction, and owed so many people, owed so much money to, at least as of right now, right? You know, he owes Crypto and his wife and you. And combined between the two of y'all, that's already over $500,000 that he owes people. Why was that not a turnoff? Why are you turning around and saying, I was still so in love with him? What? But he's promising her that this business account is going to get open. This business account is going to get open. He's going to have these hearings. And eventually he claims it does. And then he sends her $9,000, which again, scammers don't scam 24/7. Liars don't lie 24/7. They have to tell you the truth. They have to show you a little bit in order to keep you roped in. Because if you just lie 24/7, eventually people get tired. That's why he would do little things like buy that one trip or send that $9,000 to her. But in either case, he's promising her family that he's going to pay for the wedding. They don't have a lot of money. She keeps saying, we had barely anything. We had barely anything. We were struggling. But then he promises her family that he's going to pay for the wedding ceremony. But what happens the day that the money's supposed to roll around? His mom's like, or her mom is like, I didn't get it. I didn't get the 10,000 because he asked for the bank information of the mom to send the money. Doesn't come. He sends a screenshot saying that he sent it. Then he sends another one and it has a different date. And eventually, I don't know when it started to click in, Onyeka realizes, because she said that she decided she was going to play around with the Revolut app because that's where she would send the money to him over in Denmark. She plays with the app and she's like, oh my God, I noticed that the screen he sent me with the cropped screenshot looks exactly like the confirmation page. And that means that he didn't even have to use his bank. All he did was just crop the page where he was about to. I'm like, girl, have you never used Venmo or PayPal or Cash App? Any of these apps, Zelle? You've never used them? All of these apps are like that. Yes, you type an amount of money in, you go to the next screen, it tells you when it's going to be sent by, but until you actually press send, it doesn't go anywhere. And that is what clicked in her head, like, oh my goodness, all of these screenshots are fake. Onyeka also is able to talk to his family and his sister. And guess what? They confirm he's never had investment properties. He doesn't have a terrible relationship with his oldest sister. In fact, there was more tension with the younger sister than the oldest sister. He also never went to the Olympics, never won any medals. Everything was a lie. And Onyeka is like, I can't believe it. And I'm like, seriously? Because the story just sounds far-fetched. I gotta be honest. This story just sounds far-fetched when you hear it.
And that's all I needed to know. The first red flag was you pronouncing your name the way you did. The second red flag was the fact that you said that man had blonde hair, blue eyes, and you were just so like... And then the third red flag was you running that much bread to that man. And still going on trips with him while you were... owing money. And there's a shit ton of red flags. But here's my thing. Instead of her actually taking accountability, like what Risa Tisa did, this is why Risa Tisa's, series popped off. Because Risa Tisa was done with the man. Risa Tisa was over it. Risa Tisa was ready to tell her story because she had, dealt with everything, coped with everything. She's not over that man. But anyways, as I was saying, instead of her actually taking accountability, she's going to blame it on the black women. That's all I needed to know. And then I find out that she follows JD Vance, Trump, and Candace Owens. And that's another all I needed to know. And then somebody pulled up her social media and she's the only black girl in her friend group. So that's all I really needed to know. You want allyship when you're not an ally. You want us to sit here and protect you when you wouldn't do the same. What are you talking about? You're part of the 8%. You were never part of the 92%. Mind you, I've seen criticism from all races, all different women on this girl and this whole Danish deception. But of course, she's going to pick specifically black women. That goes to show her character. Ma'am, stop lying to yourself. The only reason why that man was able to scam that much bread out of you and your family and friends is because he was white. He was white, blonde hair, with blue eyes. It's called white proximity. Please, stop playing with us. Really stop gaslighting us. God, this is why your series isn't doing what you thought it was going to do. She's not ready to come to terms or, actually look introspectively on why this happened to her. and why she trusted that man so much, and why a lot of us are sitting here like just kind of flabbergasted and like, girl. It also doesn't help that ex-friends are coming out and literally letting the class know that they did warn her about this man, and she, instead of like actually listening, blocked them. So it's like you had some sort of inkling that this man wasn't a good person, yet you were so stuck on the white man that had blonde-haired, blue eyes and was Danish royalty. For you got lost in the sauce.
And mind you, at this point, she's still catching him using the gambling app. And despite finding out that he's lying, he's still gambling. They're bleeding money. They don't barely have anything. She still wants to marry him. She still talks about going wedding dress shopping. She still talks about having a traditional wedding. I don't know. As I said, I think for me, this level of insecurity I find to be very sad, but also very scary because it just puts you in such a vulnerable position. You have to be able to have discernment. And that's why, as women, we really need to be able to love and be comfortable with ourselves and know our worth and know our value and know when something evil is afoot, when something nefarious is going on. Because again, a woman that had loving, supportive, caring people around her, this would have never happened. And yes, I know she said that she was not talking to people and that she was not really being open about a lot of this stuff, but just wait. We get towards the end of the story, and at this point, they are doing not so well at all. She's at a point where she still wants to marry this man, for the record, but he doesn't want to marry her. I don't remember the exact order of things, but essentially he ends it with her after a while. He tells her he does not love her. He does not want to be with her. He does not feel like it's for the best. He doesn't want to hurt her. And she is just stunned. And then that's when it comes out that this man not only owes crypto $200,000, but also owes her friends. She texts multiple friends, all of which said, oh yeah, he asked me for a loan. He asked me for a loan. Yeah, he told me he was planning you a birthday party. He told me he was planning you a surprise gift. Yeah, he told you I was, nobody said anything to her, by the way. Not one of these people. All of these people, I don't know. It couldn't be me. There would never be a day where somebody I'm with could go texting people in my life, asking them for money, and they would not turn around and ask me what's going on. They would also not blindly give it to him. You mean to tell me nobody asked a question? Again, why is it that all these people randomly believed him? Because if that was a black man, y'all wouldn't have blindly believed that man so quickly and assumed his intentions are good. You would have been turning around asking her, what the heck? It gets worse. She asks her sister, and her sister's like, oh yeah, he did ask me for money. He told me that he wanted to give you a surprise, and I gave it to him. And then we find out that he asked her father, her Nigerian father, for money, and he gave it to him. Now, in Nigerian culture, when you are a man and you want to marry a man's wife, or a man's daughter, excuse me, there's a dowry. You are presenting money to the family. You are presenting gifts to the family to prove that you are worthy of their daughter. But yet this man was willing to give him this money. And why is that? Because every single person involved in this failed Onyeka, as well as Onyeka failing herself. Every single one of these people's desire to be associated with a white man, to be accepted by a white man. Every single person's delusional desires allowed for this to happen. I have never heard of a man reaching out to his wife or soon to be wife's father to ask for money, and then he turns around and says yes. What? What? But as I said, he wanted to leave her. And so eventually he goes back to Denmark. She also does find out that the people watching her Instagram stories was his ex-girlfriend. He does talk to the ex-girlfriend a lot as well, and she gives information. But in general, it's interesting because she said she felt so much resentment for the family for not opening up about this whole thing. It's crazy. She literally had more resentment in this story for his family than for him himself. And had he never left, she would have still been fighting. This is an ongoing story because this man is still scamming. Onyeka is still out talking. She's coming for black women. Hey, girl, what's up? Saying that people are victim blaming her. But people are not victim blaming you. There comes a point where you're being delusional. There comes a point where you are allowing yourself to be played. There comes a point where you are being thirsty and desperate. And that's what happened. First couple of minutes of the story, fine. Okay, you really didn't see it. This was a cycle. I left out a bunch of stuff because, as I said, this isn't a play-by-play. But this is a cycle. How was this man able to do this to you? That's my thoughts for right now. I'm probably going to come back because there's probably going to be more updates. But I just feel like as black women, don't do this to yourself. Don't do this to yourself. I promise you, it is not worth it. And I think one other lesson to learn is that just because a man wants to move fast with you does not mean that he's interested in you. I feel like a lot of people, especially with the current dating world, think that if a man wants to move fast, he's ready to be all in immediately. That means he's committed, he likes you, and you're the one. When in reality, that is more of a red flag than anything. A man who wants to do everything in seconds. That is a red flag. And I wish Onyeka knew that. But anyway.
Picked up some flowers for Martin's mom, and I got my son. Time to head to the airport. Leave my favorite part.
What did y'all think about this? I know y'all got stuff to say, so talk in the comments. Okay, let me know what you guys have to say about this. If you made it to this point of the video, that means you liked the video. So I would greatly appreciate if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Please hype the videos if you can. Thank you guys so much, and we will probably talk again about the Danish deception, I'm sure. Bye!